I'm walking the last little bit of this road here, which should lead to a gorgeous abandoned village. And it's one that I haven't seen yet. Now, because this area that I'm in right now is actually filled with bears and boars, I've had to bring along my bear spray this time. The drive up through the mountains into this area was filled with bear warnings. And hopefully we won't run across any as we head towards the village. We should be okay. Bears are not a big fan of noise, so I'm going to be speaking in a reasonable volume today rather than whispering this. And as I drove up the hill, I kept laying on the horn as well, so that hopefully it would scare away or at least not surprise any bears or animals that may be in the area. Now, this particular abandoned village, which looks like it's just right down there, is deep within, I wouldn't say that deep, it's like half an hour deep within the mountains in Shiga Prefecture. And this one is just a little bit special. You see, many of the abandoned villages that I go to, I have time to do a bit of research before going, or I might be able to have time to speak to some of the locals. But this one I just kind of found along the path of my adventure as I stopped for a bite to eat. Zooming in on the map, I found this area, and there was very little information about it available right in that moment. What I was able to find were some Japanese blogs. And this village here is just a little bit special. And I'll share a bit about why once we get in there. The drive along here was actually filled with several tiny abandoned villages, some as small as 2 to 3 houses. But a lot of it, also much like this, there were just once upon a buildings, just piles of scrap just laying there. We'll come up here and check out what seems to be a stove first. Is it? Now, usually when I come on these adventures and I visit places like this, it's a lot earlier in the day. And so I'm actually shooting this in the evening because I wasn't planning to come here. So I brought a flashlight with me so we can kind of take a peek inside. And there are some absolutely massive critters there. I don't know if you can see them up on the wall. I don't actually think they're spiders. I think they're crickets. But they're big and they live here. So we're gonna leave them be and continue on our way in the village. This village here is unlike many of the abandoned villages that we've come across. This one is not high up in the mountains. It's just kind of, how can I say, like kind of yamaoku. It's kind of deeper in the mountains, and the area around it and the road leading up to it are spectacularly gorgeous. Like even just this section here with the river, I guess the creek and the flowers tells you something about what we are in store for today. Now, a lot of these places in Japan are just kind of left as is for a variety of different reasons. And this place here, you'll notice it actually has Tachiri Kinshi marks on it. These signs that are on here, right here, actually say do not enter, Tachiri Kinshi. And if you're going to be exploring any abandoned properties in Japan, I highly recommend memorizing those kanji and remembering them, because anything from rooftops to abandoned properties, basically, if there's something that blocks you, like a rope, if there is a sign that says Tachiri Kinshi, or if there's a lock on the door, you cannot go in. Legally, you cannot go in. And so if you remember those three things, then you can be respectful as you explore, as we're going to try to do today. But you'll also notice that not all of the properties here have Tachiri Kinshi signs on them. There's this little hut down here. We've got another one here, which from the looks of it, I was gonna say may have been an outhouse, and it is an outhouse. If you've ever seen a traditional Japanese style toilet, this is it right here. Literally just a hole in the floor. And this one quite literally just drops right underneath there. And there's a little bit of stuff left behind here. But this here is the entrance to the house. And usually there's little clues left around to when it was abandoned. More often than not, one of a few things will lead these places to being abandoned. And judging from this kamado, judging from the, I don't want to call it, decor feels like the wrong word. And these beams tend to be in buildings that are 100 years old or older. Now, there's no guarantee that this place is 100 years old or older, but there are not that many places that use this kind of stove anymore. And you'll notice these fresh boards of wood here. And these boards are one of the things that actually make this particular village a little bit special, because the one piece of information I was able to quickly find before jumping on the road was that unlike many of Japan's abandoned villages, which are just abandoned, left, and forgotten, there's actually a group of young people who are trying to preserve and rebuild this village. Now, this is supposed to be a ladder over to that side. I don't entirely trust it, but that also doesn't seem like a very big jump. I'm pretty sure we can make it, so let's give it a shot. What do you think? I think we should just give it a try. We'll probably just come right up to the edge and do it. If we fall, it'll make for wonderful content. So here we go. Oh, there we go. Made that jump. And right into, yes, there's so much left behind. So getting back into, sorry, I keep getting distracted by things. There's just so much to see here. But getting into reasons that things are typically abandoned. One of the big reasons is dams being built. A lot of the time in Japan, when there's a dam built, They buy out the land, they buy out the villages, and some of the villages end up kind of becoming the water of the dam. They go underwater. Of course, they remove all the houses and whatnot before that happens, but the dams disappear, or the villages disappear. And other times, it's just kind of a population shift into the cities. And in the very, very rare case, in fact, I can't think of any except for the major 2011 disaster where an area has been abandoned on account of a disaster. One of your leading causes is going to be just population shift or a dam being built. Now, this place has me a little bit confused because while we have the old Kamado style stoves right here, even like with the lids, and everything is made out of very, very old wood, and looks like thatched roofs in here as well. We also have a rather modern bottle of Hakutsuru sake, Japanese sake bottle there. And look in here. These are Kirin beer cups in here as well. Not to mention that over here, this is a Sony like stereo here. And there's a key with a Street Fighter key tag. And it looks like it might be a safe key. We have a national refrigerator here. This would have been the bath area in here. That is a very tiny bath. For anybody who follows along with any of the tiny apartment series, this is considerably tinier than almost any of the baths that we've seen so far. Now, because time and light were a very serious concern when I came out here, I was able to gather 3 pieces of information. Number 1, that a group of university students is actually trying to preserve and rebuild this village, which is just spectacular. There are far too many villages that are just completely left untouched, abandoned, and just go kind of fade into history. But having a young group of individuals dedicated to preserving a village like this says a lot for Japan's future, I think. A lot more young people are starting to do this type of thing. In fact, I just spent a couple days out on the island of Shikoku, and out in Shikoku, there's also quite a large percentage of the younger population is trying to kind of preserve or rebuild the area in some way, kind of build up the area in some way. I don't want to step on anything there and go through. So we're going to come back through this way. The second piece of information that I got was that this village does have bears, boars, and wild animals. So you do have to be careful of, you do have to be careful of what time you come out. And I'm just realizing, so we saw from inside they had the thatched roof, but this is actually just, this current roof here is literally just built over the thatched roofing. So they really have done their best to keep these old structures. So that wood in there very well could be 100 years old or more. And so coming out here, the other piece of information was you definitely have to be careful of animals. And I'm just trying to look for one more decent jump spot to the other side. The previous spot with the ladder there may have been our best choice. It feels like it widens up a bit here. And I would hate for this to end in disaster. And the third piece of information comes back to the students that are preserving this, and that's the last kind of blog post that I could find was from somewhere around 2021. So now, because I just kind of, we're gonna try this. I just want to try it. We know we can make the jump. Now I want to see how sturdy and stable this old wooden ladder is. Oh, this is fun. Well, that's fine. Zero issue with that. Should have just gone over it the first time, but we had a little fun instead. Wondering if this leads into the bath area of this house here. It's possible that behind there is where the bath would be, like a goemon buro. But because of hearing, I just wanted to check that for a second. Oh no, I can't get in there. Nope, those don't open. Does that open? Nope. So, because I was running very, very short on time to get out here today, and I've got to be gone from this area by tomorrow morning, I wanted to get out here as quickly as possible. So, any additional little information that I can find about why this place may have been abandoned and all of that, I will try and write up a brief excerpt in the description for you. And I hear something in here, so we're gonna proceed with caution. But look at this old chest as well. Like, that's just a straight up treasure chest. Does it open? It opens. Oh my. Okay, I wanna step up here. There we go. And we'll take a peek here inside the treasure. Hopefully nothing's gonna jump out at us. Looks like something was nesting in there though. Luckily it wasn't home. And these all look like little cup sets as well. But again, as old as this looks, it is simply made out of plastic. So nailing down an era for this is actually proving to be a bit more of a challenge than I would have initially expected. And let's continue on into here. Wow. Okay. There is a lot of old wood in here. I forget the name of these in both Japanese and English. This is more often than not used for making mochi. So they'll like pound the mochi inside of this. There we go. Also have to be really careful of broken glass, but as we were talking about before, with the brand new planks of wood, those are there because there are attempts being made to rebuild parts of these villages. And the fact that these can actually, you can enter in, go inside and check these out is just spectacular. And the ones that you can't, have been marked with signs. Oh, dare we? Have been marked with signs that say, "Do not enter," Tachiri kinshi. I'm actually really glad that I brought along the flashlight this time. This might be our first, and each one of these has, wow, this might be our first ever flashlight adventure. But I do have the time pressure of trying to wrap this up before it gets completely dark out, because we are right into that hungry animal season, and this is just a little bit weak here. Also, every time we go to a thrift store in Japan, we always find an abacus. Every single time. Now, as I'm recording this right now, it is somewhere around just before 7 p.m. and the sun is supposed to go down at 7, but because we're in the mountains, it's kind of gone down long before that. And is this, I believe this is a hand washing machine. Just crank that with your hand, and that's a little high and a little, we'll take a few steps and just take a look at maybe this second level here. Wow, okay. But if there's one thing that I've always been taught in life, is it you do not mess around with ladders. And so we're not going to go all the way up to the top. And I know there's going to be one or two people in the comments who are triggered by that. But you know what? Safety will always, always, always prevail. And that was actually a very, very rickety ladder. And should there have been something at the top, that would be quite a fall as well. So, for those of you who respect and understand those, I love and appreciate you. But there seems to be more to explore in this village down this way. I do not know how far down it goes, but it's also not the only one in the area either. And just taking a look at it this way, there is just truly something beautiful about it. Many of these abandoned villages have kind of a sad feel to them. Personal items left behind, clothing, memories, photos, this kind of thing is not popping up as we explore this village. A lot of it has probably been taken out or preserved. And as I say that, I believe we have an old children's toy right here. There is so much broken glass. Like, considering that this is being preserved, I would expect that perhaps a bit more of the broken glass would be tidied up. But this guy, he's kind of freaky. And then this is what this room looks like. This was a big, beautiful, luxurious tatami room at one time. But again, all of the tatami is kind of worn, destroyed, weathered, and once again staying on theme. I really want to go up. Once again staying on theme, we have the kamado stoves here, and little space under the floor, and there's just so much broken glass around on this one that we really need to watch our step. As I drove in, as I said, there were several other sections of abandoned village, and as much as Ooh. I would love to go through each and every single one of them. Again, our big challenge here is time. Feels pretty I'm so tempted to just go all the way up. You know I am, but again, broken ladder down to broken glass. It's not a good story. And as with many of these abandoned villages, there is absolutely no signal out here. I do carry a bit of a emergency GPS tracker with me, but there's no guarantee that it'll all work out. And is that a shrine out there? There's a shrine up that hill. Oh, 100% going to check out the shrine. And this one here has a full-on glass door, but the real confusing part about this one is the fact that there's just a urinal right outside. I guess it makes sense. Mosquitoes would suck. But what have we got in here? Okay. Storage. Let's see if the door opens and if we can actually make our way inside of this one here. There we are. The door slides open, and this one looks like it is nicely preserved. So this is, there we go. We have a model number. Let me see if I can dim down the flashlight a bit. We do have a model number there. And that model number on the fridge should give us somewhat of an idea, if it's clear enough, somewhat of an idea of the time period. At least. And like, here we go. There's just some Makita tools right here. This place seems like it's most certainly in obviously the best condition of all of them. There's a water heater here. Also, my big surprise for this place, for all of these places, for this village as a whole, is that the one thing I have not been coming across is bugs and spiders inside. Typically when I'm going through an abandoned village, I am getting spiderweb after spiderweb in the face every single place that I go. And when you look up like this, you'll see giant like huntsman spiders, or these creepy crawlies called geji. They're like caterpillars, but from hell. Seriously, Google Japanese geji, Geji, geji. And this room is beautifully preserved in here. I'm gonna skip stepping on the tatami and come over to the wood. But looks like some kind of ceremony is happening. And the ceiling seems in good enough shape that I think we can try and go up these stairs to the second floor, as long as we just watch our footing along the way. There we are. What? Got a dragon down here? Judging from the wood and the condition, this was likely an indoor wall ornament of some kind. What have we here? This feels like it feels like your hand would go in there and hold on to whatever. I have so many questions. Seeing things I've never seen before. And then this section of floor here seems solid enough. But again, very old wood used to build this place. Closets filled with like mosquito coils and whatnot. Cans of Ritz crackers. Feels weird to see a can of Ritz crackers in an abandoned Japanese village. Most certainly not among the things that I thought I'd be coming across. It's a moth. He's taking a nap. I want to believe that. I want to believe he's just taking a nap. And then heading back down. So we'll get the odd moth flying around like that, but again, no giant spiders or giz. You watch me get back to the car, and all of that is gonna be on me. That would be unfortunate, and seems like we have one or two properties beyond here as well. Wow, even down into there. So I've developed this. Oh, guys, we forgot something very important. I'm talking about how, it's really nice that there's no bugs, and that was for all of them, obviously, but we opened a door when we came in, and we should close that back up. Just like that. There we go. One of my favorite memories of my time here in Japan was coming across an abandoned village in the mountains of Chichibu in Saitama. And I originally came across it just as kind of I needed a setting for kind of a semi-comical video. And we've got some wiring here. Very, very simplistic wiring. And I get the feeling that this door isn't gonna open with as much ease, and my feeling is wrong. She just slides right open, and this place is wide. We've got this in front of us here, and it's got nails sticking out, and so we're not gonna risk tetanus. Just look inside if we find another, and all of them go up really, really high. Again, lots of busted shoji like these here. Another Kamado stove over here. And these here. Got all that. I wonder if this counted insulation, because they are using the thatched roofs there. So having all the extra wood. Also, they probably be for the Kamado, and they may even have like a wood heating stove. Again, each one does have a washing machine. This one again, the National NA463M. So we can look those up and kind of pinpoint a little bit of the time period or history. And this would be their toilet. Again, not a life of luxury, but it is a life. And these here are what is known as Japanese tsuchikabe. So they're literally walls just made of hay and dirt, and yeah, see, it just comes apart like that. And a lot of old Japanese places have walls that are made just like this. And again, we have a traditional style Japanese toilet as well. Ever unpleasant. And then kids' bike here. So as we head inside and take a peek in here, when I found the abandoned village in Chichibu, I was on my way out, and as I was leaving, I stopped for food and found out, in the mix of research and talking to a local, that there was potentially one man still left living in that abandoned village. Now, that particular abandoned village is actually quite difficult to get to. And I kind of became obsessed with the idea of going back and finding this man. And I went back. And I told myself I was going to live in the village until I found this man and until I knew exactly what happened with that village, until I knew its history. And is this the first photo we're finding in the area? What is it a photo of? No, it's not an actual photo. It's just... See, this may actually be a photo from people who lived here. And let me zoom in a bit. Nope. Let's see if we can get a bit more of a peek. I can't open it up and get a good look. There we go. Just some men. One man in a suit and jacket, and a bunch in like kimono and whatnot as well. There we go. My light has so many different settings. And looks like this would have been kind of like an old keepsafe box or safe. So spending 3 days in that village, it took 3 days for me to find the man who lived there. And along the way, I found a good number of locals who live there as well. And you're noticing here, we have lots of like sake cups and sake bottles, like a great abundance of sake bottles over here. And if it's anything like the countryside of Canada, it's likely there's not a lot to do out in the area except for drink. I have a friend who's from Newfoundland, and he says the only things to do in Newfoundland are to drink and play music. And so you may have a similar vibe going out here. Mind you, we do have a surfboard for some reason. In fact, multiple surfboards for some reason. And a Stan's grill. You gotta wonder how much... Oh, we have a photo. Oh, that is not insanely creepy at all. Oh, that is the definition of terrifying. Just walking through here and coming across this photo here. Okay. I really need to stop doing these alone. This particular visit to this abandoned village is being done on my 1 million seconds traveling through Japan adventure. So this is one of only a series of videos on this adventure. The entire playlist will be linked in the description. However, oh yeah, that door doesn't close. Looks like there's a little path this way. However, a while back in this adventure, we came across an abandoned school. And that abandoned school walk was actually, at the beginning, it was, a little worrisome. We might come across some kind of animal or something living inside. Had no idea what to expect. On the opposite end, for this particular stop, I was actually hoping that we would come across, and we've got another one of our ladder bridges. I was actually hoping that we would come across either, one of the people who's preserving or rebuilding the village, or perhaps somebody who used to live here. You see, the road out here actually seemed like it had been traveled today. So when I got here, I was hoping just maybe I would find somebody. Ooh, and this feels among the less safer buildings that we've stepped into. This entire side of this building here has just collapsed. And as that gust of wind came through, I could hear a rather loud squeak. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this one, especially as it isn't all that different. There's some chairs and some baggage here that have been left behind as well. But otherwise, not dissimilar to what we've seen so far. But there's a Coleman cooler here. Like, there's just... And this would have been the bath area here. There we go. There's the bath. And that does not open. Okay. I guess that this would likely serve as maybe a backup urinal. I have no idea. Anybody have any clue what that is? There's no sink or anything. I imagine that there may... No, I'm not seeing that there's a... Just, if that is actually being used as a toilet, that would be just a terrible smell in your home because there's no water to run anything down by. And then here, we've got this Autobike magazine here. And do we have a date on it at all? Maybe on, of course. The cover that would have the date on it is just obliterated. Maybe something in the back. Back cover may have something. Just, nope. Honda ads. Nothing with dates for us. Not going to give us even one thing. We got some Vespa ads in here. It looks like we could be going back as far as the 80s with this. I'm not going to say 70s. I don't know bike models, but just looking at the overall feel and whatnot of the magazine and the photos, we could be 70. What do we got here? Anything that has date. I'm seeing no date on this paper. Okay. That is okay. The search for anything we can find continues, and our daylight quickly disappears. But before we head to that shrine, I think there's another home over here and all this. See, so this one actually still has the original just thatched roofing uncovered, which may likely have led to the demise of the other side of the building, as if you can see these here, as it didn't have the same level of protection that the other ones had. The old, sorry, spider climbing out my hand. The old high fidelity TV here. An AM, FM, and TV on this bad boy. And then, again, I don't want to wander too much into here and shake things up too much. We have Thor's hammer down there. So, we got some Asgardian stuff. There's that mask thing is not creepy at all. This looks like yeah, I was gonna say that's like totem pole kind of. That's the first. I don't know. You're definitely not gonna be able to see it on that cooler. Or, oh no, there's a spider right there. He's reflected on the cooler, but other than the one that was just climbing on my hand, it's the first one we've come across. Well, first big one, I guess. There've been plenty of little ones, but they don't count. There we go. We'll head down this way, as there's another house over here. Honestly, I would love to come back at some point and but there's spiders in the forest and they just okay. That was a really thick, strong spider web. I would love to, if they're still doing the preservation project, and oh how I hope they are, I would love to come back sometime and learn and share a little of the story of this place, because while we get to wander around and explore it like this, we're left with so little context, and I take responsibility for that. And I had we got to be real careful here. I just stepped on this board, and luckily I have fairly solid soles to my shoes, but there are nails sticking out. That just feels like a trap. I'm gonna move that to the side. Okay, got some spider webs here finally. Almost happy about it. Again, standard Kamado tatami room. We've got some tools. There's been lots of tools. There's a harness here. So, we may have electric or forestry work. And there's like a whole tool shed in here as well. And again, nothing that really dates the place. We have some fresh lime soap. But again, this as well, soap wouldn't really need a date. Did not have a date on it. And everybody in this village just loved national product. I wonder if they're like sponsoring the village. This is an old national clock radio. And more nails and glass. Oh, that is not a safe step whatsoever. Like, the entire thing is supported by this here, and it wobbles. This one, the roof seems solid enough that I'm gonna try and step on the main parts of the tatami that should be supported. Okay. That's kind of a creepy sign. Konohe hairanai koto. Do not enter this room. So we won't. I'll respect the sign. If the sign is telling me do not enter this room, and it's like the way it's written too. Like it's not like hairanai de kudasai. Konohe hairanai koto. We'll take a look at the room. We will do that. I wonder what it is. I wonder, oops, if it's stuff that's inside. Let me fix the light here for a second. No, I did it again. There we go. But we can come down this. So this is like the interesting or rare thing about this village is that there's stuff like this. Like there's the tachiiri kinshi, and then there's the. I wonder if at some point the university students who were trying to preserve and rebuild were doing, wow, it's just, oh kumate, this goes on. We're doing, there's the spider webs. We're doing like tours and bringing people out here. That would make sense, but we got stairs too. It looks like this would be used to build out the roofing and whatnot. But again, just how great of condition everything is kind of taking me aback a bit. And I don't see any droppings or anything. So we're gonna safely make our way up into here. The ceiling also looked safe enough, but again, we got giant chests and old boxes. Look at that. An old closet. See there. It's not uncommon, as I said at the beginning, to find clothing and whatnot left behind. It looks like the drawer had kimono in it. And again, clothing, either they were a retro clothing collector, or that is some old clothing. We will leave it untouched as is and try to watch our footing as we come around this way. And again, all of this here is still, it's chikabe. If you get up close and you look at that, all of that is just, and I know there is an English word for chikabe, and I apologize, I cannot remember it to save my life, but before it gets too dark out, let's go back through here and make our way to the shrine, because the shrine looked beautiful. It looks like this is the last home at the end of this village here, but as you can see from the light, it has started to get a bit darker. So we'll take these steps down here. We will keep our eyes and ears open and see if we cannot make it back towards the shrine. Now, the only way that I can carry and talk, do all this is typically using some form of action cam. And action cams are notoriously not spectacular for nighttime. The one exception that I found to that is this camera here that we're using. And this is not sponsored, because trust me, does it ever have its caveats. But this that I'm using here is an action camera that can actually somewhat handle low light situations. And it's called the Insta360 Ace Pro. Now, this thing, if you don't walk perfectly like as you're on wheels type of smooth, you'll get a lot of the jitter that we've had in this video, especially in dark situations. But an action camera that can actually handle dark, if I was to shoot this on GoPro, the camera would probably explode. And DJI, trust me, I tested it. DJI could barely handle the forest we were doing at the beginning. But that being said, I will try to take this nice and slow as we come in here. But look at this shrine. This is gorgeous. Beautiful steps too. These are solid 8.2 out of 10 steps. And a stone shrine gate right in here. But it is most certainly starting to get very dark. So we will continue, but proceed with caution as we do. This building has a proper wooden roof, so it feels like it was built afterwards. Then there's a smaller shrine right here, and then heading over this way, looks like we have another beautiful set of steps leading up to the main shrine there. And I would most certainly regret not taking these. So that is exactly what we are gonna do. Now, it has been nearly an hour since I arrived, which means it's been an hour since I parked the car and just honked the horn for a few minutes. So hopefully my voice is enough to deter any animals that may be nearby, because for all the travels I've done in Japan, I don't think I have seen this many bear warning signs on a single road heading to a single location. There we are. We will head back down these stairs nice and carefully. I would love to hear your thoughts on this village and whether or not you would come out and explore a place like this. This one didn't really have like a creepy or scary vibe to me. This one, above all else, felt kind of peaceful and comfortable. A little bit nice even. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I think, I'd also actually really like to hear whether or not you think I should try to come back sometime. Whether I should try to get in touch, see if I can't find some of the old locals that live here. That previous video about tracking down the man who lived in the abandoned village, the one remaining man, that is on the main channel. There's actually two videos. The documentary is called Why This Japanese Village Was Abandoned, and then I think there's one that's like I spent 72 hours in an abandoned Japanese village, and that was kind of the behind the scenes of the shoot. I will link those in the description box below as well. If I forget, please hit me up in the comments and let me know. This place is beautiful and only ever so frightening. I'm kidding, it's not. It's like with the running water and the birds in the background, it's very, very peaceful and more curious than anything. I am not looking forward to the drive on the way back in the dark, because this is actually the widest section of road there is, and a bunch of the sections just kind of drop off on both sides, so that'll be an interesting challenge. But for now, it's time for me to get back on the road. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for joining this adventure, and I will see you again real soon.